The world faces a crisis years in the making, now erupting in the Persian Gulf. Nearly 2,000 commercial vessels, oil tankers, container ships, cargo carriers, are trapped, their crews stranded and anxious. This ghost fleet is the most visible sign of a conflict that's severed the arteries of global trade. Oil prices have surged 50% since February, hitting consumers everywhere. In the US, gas is up nearly $1.50 a gallon, straining budgets and fueling inflation. The crisis is the result of years of US-Iran tensions, culminating in Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, a direct response to American pressure. Washington calls it aggression. Tehran calls it self-defense. The standoff is perilous, with a single misstep threatening catastrophe. Beyond economics, the human toll grows. Seafarers stranded, civilians under threat, soldiers on edge. The world watches, uncertain. Can diplomacy avert disaster, or is this the start of something far worse? The fate of the ghost fleet and the global economy hangs in the balance. On May 5th, the White House declared Operation Epic Fury, America's campaign against Iran, officially over. The announcement, meant to signal de-escalation, was met with skepticism in Tehran. Iran sees the move as political theater, not peace. The US sidestepped a War Powers Act deadline, but Iran's demands remain unmet. While Washington claims victory, Iran continues its blockade and low-level attacks, believing it holds the upper hand. The ceasefire is fragile, violated by drone strikes and skirmishes. US commanders absorb minor attacks to keep diplomacy alive, but tensions simmer. Both sides claim to pursue peace while preparing for a renewed conflict. President Trump warns that military action could resume if talks fail. Or the world wonders, is this a turning point or just a pause in a long, bitter struggle? The war that is not a war leaves the region on edge. The ambiguity is dangerous. One spark could reignite full-scale conflict. For now, uneasy peace prevails, but the threat of escalation looms. The Strait of Hormuz, just 21 miles wide, moves a third of the world's seaborne oil. Iran has seized control, mining the waters and enforcing a blockade that's paralyzed shipping. The US responded with a massive naval deployment, vowing to protect commercial traffic. But Iran's threat is real. Unauthorized ships risk attack, and most of the 2,000 stranded vessels refuse to move. The Revolutionary Guard's arsenal, missiles, drones, sea mines, makes the risk too great. Only a handful of ships have braved the passage under US escort. Today a cargo vessel was struck, underscoring the danger. Iran's unconventional tactics have outmaneuvered America's conventional might, choking a vital artery of the global economy. Every day the blockade continues, economic pressure mounts and the risk of miscalculation grows. The strait is now the central chessboard, and Iran is willing to upend the game. The world's supply chains hang by a thread. The conflict escalated when Iran launched missiles and drones at the UAE, targeting Fujairah, a key oil hub outside the strait. The attack drew the UAE, a US ally, directly into the conflict, signaling that no country in the region is safe. Emirati and US defenses intercepted some missiles, but others struck an oil refinery, causing fires and civilian injuries. Iran's GPS jamming and expanded maritime control zone now threaten Emirati sovereignty. By striking Fujairah, a strategic bypass for Gulf oil, Iran sends a clear message: there's no escape from its reach. The attack warns Saudi Arabia and others that their infrastructure is vulnerable. The battlefield has widened, raising the stakes for the entire region. Diplomacy is now more urgent and more complicated than ever. In this conflict, information is a weapon. Both the US and Iran flood the media with competing claims, making truth elusive. Iran boasts of striking US warships. The Pentagon denies it. The US claims to have sunk Iranian boats. Tehran calls it fabrication. This fog of war confuses the world and polarizes public opinion. Proxy attacks in Iraq add another layer of violence and uncertainty. Each side projects strength, but the result is a fractured reality. In this environment, trust and de-escalation are nearly impossible. Amid the chaos, diplomacy stirs. Pakistan acts as a go-between, delivering Iran's secret peace proposal to Washington. The rumored deal: Iran halts nuclear enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief and access to frozen funds. talks focus on de-escalating the Strait crisis, leaving bigger issues for later. China enters the fray, hosting Iran's foreign minister and preparing for a summit with President Trump. As Iran's top oil customer, China has a vested interest in peace and a chance to prove itself as a global power broker. The world watches Beijing, hoping for a breakthrough. A Pakistani intermediary hints, "We are getting close." Can this diplomatic flurry pull the region back from the brink? For millions, the crisis is personal, felt at the gas pump and in rising prices everywhere. Oil prices have soared nearly 50%, pushing U.S. gas to $4.50 a gallon and straining family budgets. The spike ripples through the economy, raising costs for goods and services, and threatening to reignite inflation. Central banks are forced to reconsider rate cuts, risking slower growth and possible stagflation. Thousands of stranded ships carry not just oil, but vital goods, electronics, food, clothing, disrupting global supply chains. Companies scramble to reroute shipments, facing delays and higher costs. The crisis is a stark reminder. A conflict in one waterway can shake the entire world. May 6, 2026. The world stands on a knife's edge. Ceasefires, back-channel talks, and China's intervention offer hope for de-escalation. But the ceasefire is fragile, the blockade remains, and missile attacks continue. The war of words poisons trust, and the core issues, nuclear ambitions, regional power, are unresolved. The coming days are critical. Talks in Beijing could broker peace or collapse. One miscalculation could plunge the region into all-out war. The stakes are global. A truce could restore trade, but failure could trigger catastrophe. The choices made now in Washington, Tehran, and Beijing will shape the future. The world holds its breath, hoping for restraint over aggression. One thing is certain: the world that emerges from this crisis will be forever changed.